Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Hope you guys are having an awesome evening. I've had a great day so far as we're rounding off our week and making our way into our Friday tomorrow. In this evening's video, we're going to continue to discuss the tropics and what is now looking like we are going to have our first tropical storm of the 2022 hurricane season. The National Hurricane Center is forecasting that now. We're going to take a look at that. We're going to take a look at all kinds of things, really focusing on the Euro, not really talk much on the GFS. Talk about what's driving this, talk about the impacts we're expecting. I'm not expecting this to be a destructive system or anything like that. So, I'm sure there's been, especially early this week, some crazy hype posts and things like that on Facebook. Some people can post some really irresponsible things to kind of get the clicks and things like that. I haven't seen that with this system, and hopefully that has not been the case. But anyways, this is not going to be a drastically life-threatening storm. Now, there is going to be the chance for several inches of rain in the southern areas of the peninsula of Florida, including Miami, Key West, and surrounding areas. Basically, Orlando and Tampa points south could get some nasty weather from this. There's going to be a low-end tornado threat, as there always is with tropical systems, especially if you're on that right quadrant of the storm. You got to watch out. So that's what we're going to break down for you guys. If you guys have not subscribed, definitely consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. I am going to start self-promoting the heck out of my Facebook, guys. I really am trying to get the 10,000 likes on my Facebook. If you click that link right there, if you have a Facebook, just click it. And, if you're not active on it, I understand. If you are, it's a great way to stay up to date, especially when things start popping off. I got a lot of growth over the winter on it. People... I posted as much content as possible, and obviously I can't make a video every single 30 minutes or an hour when things are very active. So Twitter and Facebook is a great way to stay up to date with what's going on, a secondary source, if you will. If you guys got anything that I can pray about, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. So let's get rocking and rolling here and check this out. Here it is, our first cone out for the Atlantic side. So this is forecast. So if since it's the first time I was breaking this down, right now this is called potential tropical cyclone 1, one of the most confusing terms in weather. But basically it's a way to label something that isn't quite labeled yet, if you know what I mean. So technically it is kind of a depression right now, but it's actually forecast to become a depression, a tropical depression, probably overnight. And then forecast to become this S, which stands for tropical storm. If it was forecast to become an H, that would stand for hurricane, and you would see that on one of the icons on this timeline, but it's not, just a tropical storm. Right now, I think the highest intensity it's forecast to be is a 50-mile-per-hour storm, and that's right off after it gets off the coast of the southeast. But this is forecast to become a tropical storm, probably a 40-45-mile-per-hour storm, and these yellow areas are tropical storm watches, not warnings. They will probably be upgraded to warnings probably in the next 6 to 12 hours. But right now, this is where you have tropical storm watches up. So basically, the entire southern half coastal lines of basically Florida and then the entire western end of Cuba is under tropical storm watches. And this is forecast to become a tropical storm as early as tomorrow around midday. Let's take a look at water vapor loop. So this is an awesome thing to look at. One thing... And the reason why is because, hey, your immediate reaction or thought would be, well, this is probably the center of the storm right here. It's not. The actual main low-level circulation is actually right into here, starting to kind of meander off the mainland of the Yucatan Peninsula here. But everything is displaced to the east, meaning, everything's basically to the east of the storm. All the nastiest weather starting to move into western Cuba. And that is basically because you have 20, 30 knots of shear really slamming this storm out the southwest right here. And it's really hurting the storm. It's bringing a lot of dry air, and it's basically shredding the northern end of this storm pretty bad right now. And this is really hitting it at around 200 millibars. So basically that is well over 30,000 feet up in the atmosphere. We call it the upper level wind pattern. And basically we're saying that that is not favorable for this kind of setup. And this is typical for the Gulf of Mexico this time of the year. You usually have a lot of shear, as you still have upper troughs and cold fronts that still kind of dive down in late May and early June, when we just haven't gotten to the meat of summer, where basically the active jet on average kind of begins to shift a little further north. So this is hostile territory for tropical systems. And you can see it. You see the darker colors right here. That indicates more dry air. So you can see it's hitting it pretty hard right now. So we keep rolling, and we'll look at this. We'll get a closer look at what's going on here. You see these, you see this. It's going to be very hard to see. You know, you're probably thinking, what am I looking at here? But you see this big blow up of convection right here. There is probably a low level spin, and you can see it how fast the clouds are moving right here in the low levels. There's probably a low level spin under all these higher base clouds. Now the mid level circulation is probably where all the convection is, which is normally the case. But there is a low-level circulation right here, but it is getting blasted by this shear right here. That's why you can be so close to this actual low pressure, which is the technical center of the storm, but you don't have to go far to get sunny skies out in the middle of the ocean. You really don't. And this is how it's probably going to be the entire duration of the life of this storm as it heads towards Florida. So, and here it is. You know, we look on Tropical Tidbits. This is where it's saying the low pressure is. And in fact, we're pretty confident it is. And, you know, it's starting to shift off the mainland, but we're pretty confident it is because we've had airplanes that have went into this and actually picked up on where this low-level circulation is. So basically the hurricane hunters, they went out on a mission already, and you can tell where basically the higher wind gusts are at flight level, where you got wind gusts pushing 30, 35 knots in this area. They didn't really go into the main blow-up of convection way off towards Cuba. But in general, you can see these wind barbs, how they're going out of kind of the northeast right here, and then they're switching and kind of going out of a different direction over here, kind of going out the northwest. So you can tell there's a little bit of circulation. Now, this is a very sloppy example of this because this isn't a very healthy low-level circulation. But this is where it is. But over time, especially as this gets over land, it'll become a little bit more healthy, therefore strengthen. Anytime that low-level circulation strengthens and you can get some convection that really protects it, creates somewhat of a moisture bubble around it, it has a little bit of a chance to strengthen, even with all that shear kind of blasting it and shredding that part of the storm. So if we look at the global models and where this could head, pretty much everything is zoned in on southwest Florida, south of Tampa. In fact, you know, this is going to be close to making landfall in Tampa, but remember, a lot of the convection is going to be on the east side. So Tampa could get maybe an inch or so of rain, but most of the nastiest conditions is going to be well south, I think, of Tampa and Orlando and places like this. But it's going to make landfall probably somewhere in this part of Texas right here. As far as the intensity forecast, it has trended up. I talked about that yet last night and how I thought that was going to happen, and most people did. And surely enough, a lot of model guidance has this reaching TS status, which stands for tropical storm, with this one model eventually getting into hurricane status once it gets off the coast of the southeast. So we'll take a look at the Euro, how it unfolds. This is for tomorrow afternoon. It has the low pressure well over the southeast areas of the Gulf of Mexico, and has it moving and kind of drifting, still moving pretty slow. You're getting into late Friday evening. You're already seeing some nasty weather in the southern areas of Florida. Already, all the convection is well away from the low pressure. So even though low pressure may still be hundreds of miles off the coast of southwest Florida, you're still going to be seeing plenty of moisture riding into Florida as early as tomorrow afternoon. In fact, y'all are probably already seeing waves of showers in southern Florida right now in response to some of this moisture starting to creep up, you know, northward towards the Florida area. But as we're getting into Saturday morning, I think the meat of the storm really starts to move over Florida. It looks like the timeline's kind of altered a little bit, but the European has actually shifted even further north. But as we're getting into Saturday afternoon, still nasty weather kind of lingering into the peninsula of Florida. But then as we get off the coast of the southeast, this I really think will have a chance to strengthen into maybe a moderate strength tropical storm, maybe a stronger tropical storm. Will it make it to a hurricane? I doubt it. I really do. But some of the models have it getting very close to the Carolina coastline. I'm not talking about this thing making impact in the Carolinas, but maybe some outer bands wrapping into the areas of the coastal Carolinas for sure. I think that is possible, especially the Outer Banks. If it takes somewhat of a European path, either way, you're going to have some nasty rip currents Sunday into Monday along the southeast shoreline. I mean, I would not even bother getting in the ocean unless you're a professional surfer or swimmer or something like that. But as far as rainfall, the orange you see here, that is up to 6 to 10 inches of rain. This is the National Hurricane Center saying this also. So this is the professionals. In the yellow area, 4 to 6 inches of rain is possible. But notice the stout cutoff. No rain really expected for areas of Orlando points north. So this is really just going to be impacting in the southern areas of Florida, southern peninsula of Florida. Miami could really get hit hard with this, but you guys have seen plenty of tropical storms. I don't think this is going to hurt you guys, but definitely flooding is certainly possible, and some nasty wind gusts are possible too with this. And then check it out. So greatest flash flood risk over the next 3 days is certainly going to be Miami as far as the heaviest populated area. Moderate means at least a 40% chance of flash flooding occurring in this region. So, that all depends on how much rain you've pretty much had as of late. But this is really over the course of the whole entire event. So I do think there is going to be a tornado threat with this too. We'll talk about that more as we know. But I think as waves of these outer bands kind of pivot from the east side of the east quadrant of the storm, especially areas that are on the northeast quadrant of the storm, watch out this part of Florida right here. I think a tornado threat will be there. But let's talk about potential wind gusts. So getting into Friday evening, you'll notice the winds are picking up basically both shorelines, the western and the eastern side, as basically winds are wrapping through here. Anywhere from 20, 30 mile per hour winds are possible on either shoreline. And nothing too crazy at all, really. But as the meat of the storm really moves over the peninsula, you're waking up Saturday morning to some squally weather in Miami. 30, 40 mile per hour winds are definitely possible. And of course, you're occasionally going to have, especially down there in Key West, a 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gust, maybe even a 60 mile per hour wind gust with some of these more intense bands that move through this area. And then it could get quite intense after it gets well off the coast of the eastern side of Florida as this tries to strengthen over the Gulf Stream. I think it will, and I think this tries to build a little bit better of a core. But as far as moisture, what this could look like, we're getting into tomorrow around 2 p.m. You already got a lot of rain moving into Miami, West Palm Beach, the entire 9 yards here. Everybody in southern areas of Florida is going to be getting rain. But notice it's a pretty stout cutoff up here. Not seeing a lot of rain, but this rain will continue all through the hours, the overnight hours. Is around 2 a.m. Tomorrow night. Getting into tomorrow morning, I think, is when the heaviest rain will be falling in the entire southern sections of Florida for sure, with several inches of rain could potentially fall for sure. So really what's driving this is you see these little arrows pointing this way. This is wind streams at 200 millibars. So that's around 36, 37, 38,000 feet up in the air. So this is the upper level wind pattern in place. See these blue areas? That's about 20, 30, maybe 35 knots of shear. And that is because there's an upper trough digging into the Gulf of Mexico. It's ripping into the storm and really just shreds convection and doesn't allow for convection to really blow up where there is shear. And, it's a little bit different when you have supercell development. It's a different animal with tropical systems. And I can go really deep into that. But I would probably jack it all up, and it would probably take several minutes. But shear, by no means, is not good for tropical systems. It can work in favors of supercells and things like that, but tropical systems do not like shear. And with this upper trough, it brings shear and dry air. Normally when you have shear, you normally have dry air due to the fact that you got troughing. So this moves through, and it's still battling all this southerly southwest shear hitting the west side of the storm. So absolutely probably hardly any convection, any showers or storms will be on the west side of the storm. And you can really see it here. Look at this. As we're getting into, I'll stop this. Let's stop it around Saturday around mid-morning. Look at all the brown around the low pressure. There is actually brown, brown meaning dry air, on the east side of the low pressure too. That tells me that we're probably off the coast of the western coast of Florida, probably going to see a low-level spin on radar, but absolutely no moisture associated with it. All the moisture is going to be displaced well to the east of the storm. not even close to the low pressure potentially, where you had this big blob of green. So it'll be interesting to watch this unfold on satellite. It really will. But thank y'all for tuning in. I felt like I was a little rusty with this video, a little everywhere. But thank y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Appreciate the support, and y'all have a great evening.